Hi, and welcome to Georgina Blooms. I'm Kathy Bruce, your host, and I'm doing one of my most favorite things, provided I'm protected. That's visiting Chris Campbell's beehives here at Maryholme. They're new. You won't want to miss this. Welcome back. And joining me is Chris Campbell.
Hello, everyone.
And thank you for being here.
The first one.
I know. It's a whole show of it. Chris has set up new hives this year at Maryholme. And so these are, do you want to explain the boxes, the size of boxes?
These are Langstroth hives. They're, I don't know what they are, 20 by 16? I should know that, but I don't.
The depth of them makes a difference, does it?
The depth of this is called a deep hive. This is where the queen lives. We have shorter boxes. That's where we capture all the honey.
Right.
But that's why there's different depths. And if we're lucky, we'll find the queen today. She's got little earrings and a cape.
And a little tiara.
Yeah.
So how difficult is, like even how do you decide where to put, because this is a huge, beautiful property. How would you decide where to put a hive?
Well, we want good nectar foraging for them, and this place is pretty ideal.
Yep.
They need a source of water, like Simcoe's about...
Big enough.
Yeah, it's close by. Those are the two requirements. They face south, which they are, and they're on a nice little pad of wood chips here, so they're high and dry. They won't get rained out. So those are some requirements, and it's doing well. This is a really great spot.
And you were talking about the fact that these wood chips are going to crowd out the grass.
Yes, we don't want tall grass in front, and the bees just have a harder time getting back to their hive. We might as well make it as easy as possible for them.
Right, right.
So that's why that's there.
Yeah. So did you take any of the bees from your hives where we've been before up on Park Avenue and 48?
No, actually, these are purchased. There's places that the public doesn't know about necessarily, but we can buy bees. It's one queen and 10,000 bees. It's called a nuke or a nucleus colony, and that's what's in here. And they're doing extremely well. I check on them every couple of weeks. And so everything you see underneath, can you just blow on that for me? Just blow, blow, blow. There, so the bees go away. So underneath, that's all the babies. There, that's what that is. The babies, and there's a wee bit of honey in the corner.
Oh, wow. So the dark ones are...
Yeah, the one that are capped over are the babies, and they'll come emerging out. If we're lucky, we'll see one biting its way through and hatching.
Oh, cool.
More babies. So that's what I'm looking for, to make sure that there's lots of, we call it brood. We want to see lots of brood. We don't necessarily need to see the queen, but if we look down in the cells and we see an egg or a larva, we know there's a queen there, and we can just relax.
Okay.
So that's what we're looking for.
So did you have to purchase 3 of these?
Yes.
Queens with 10, okay, for each of these.
Yeah.
And have they doubled or tripled or?
They've tripled in size, definitely.
In how short a period of time?
About a month.
Wow.
Oh, here's a little thing.
Uh-oh.
There was a bee doing a waggle dance right there. That bee's doing a waggle dance, so it's telling the other bees where the nectar is. It's wiggling and going in a figure 8.
Cool. And it's having a spasm with its wings.
Well, so the length of the dance and the direction that it's doing the straight line tells the bees where they can get more nectar.
Okay.
So they're communicating. They don't have ears like we do. They listen with vibration.
Okay.
And you can see all the bees with the yellow on their back legs. That's the pollen. That's their protein. They'll stuff that into a cell for later. They'll save it for winter. Yeah.
And it's like as you see them enter with pollen, it almost looks fluorescent.
Yeah.
And you were saying the pollen on them can be all kinds of different colors.
Any color at all, yeah.
Depending, I guess, on the flower that they capture the pollen from.
Exactly.
So why are they building outside the lines?
They're rebels. Well, this is a sign that they might need a second box, like the other hives have a second box.
Okay.
So once they kind of go this way, this is empty, this is pretty empty, and this black one on the outside is empty. Once they get a little bit more full, then I'll put a second box on and they'll build up.
Okay. You were also talking about how you can keep adding boxes.
Yes, once there's a good flow of nectar, we can put a queen excluder on, which is just a piece of either metal or plastic that makes it so the queen cannot get past.
Yeah.
So the queen stays down in the deep box, and the workers go up and put honey up above them. So I just want to mention this is a good frame because this is brood, this is babies, but over here this is honey. So you can see the difference. This is a good example because they're side by side.
And why was the other one, why were they dark brown?
They were a little older. These are a little younger.
Oh.
So maybe these were capped like yesterday or the day before.
Okay.
And the other ones might have been capped a week ago. And when the bees step all over them because they don't wipe their feet off at the door and they're full of pollen, eventually, that's why when wax is first made, it's white.
Okay.
But over time, it goes light yellow, dark yellow, then eventually black.
Oh. Okay.
And that's when we take a frame and we scrape off all of that and reuse it.
So there's no honey in these? That's just for
That's
babies?
just, yeah, I would think so. But yeah, the second box would be a good idea. And especially with all these babies, this is full of babies. When all these come out, I'm going to have like the population of, probably in a week, the population of this will increase by probably 5,000 or 7,000 bees. So they need more room.
Wow.
And if I don't give them more room, that's a worry that they might swarm. So you want to make sure they have enough room and they're not ever looking for more room.
So is that a reason why bees swarm, like in nature?
Yeah.
Because their hive is too small?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons. Another reason might be that there's mites or disease all over them.
Oh.
And they want to just leave.
Oh. So they don't just stay and let the disease take over?
Right. They try everything they can. This is very heavy. It's full of nectar, which will be honey. They try everything they can, and if they can't, all the things they tried don't work, they'll just say, we're out of here.
Wow. Oh my. So you can see the
nectar.
reflection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's pollen in the middle at the bottom. You see the yellow pollen?
Oh, down here?
No, up top, or the other way. Jeremiah.
Stay tuned, we got more. Welcome back. I just love this. I also love it more because I've got a jacket on in the hood. And I'm not a screaming demon into the forest. You were, in your other hives, you said you had a nasty queen.
Yeah.
And that was projected onto her babies. Like,
that's correct.
They were kind of mean. This is a very happy crowd.
Very calm, docile. We could probably put our hands right inside.
Well, you could.
And not get stung. It's totally fine. You can pet the bees with your bare hands. They don't mind being touched. So yeah, the attitude of the hive is controlled by the queen. Yep. Not necessarily controlled. If the queen is a little testy, then all the other honeybees tend to be that way, and the only way to fix that is to get rid of that queen and give them a new one.
Right.
But then it takes some time because she has to lay new eggs, and it's her new offspring that will be hopefully docile. Not these bees don't change their attitude. It's the offspring.
Okay.
So it does take a little while.
Yeah. So when you have a nasty queen that raises nasty babies, you just kind of put up with it for the little while, because as I recall, a nasty queen and nasty babies produce an awful lot of honey.
Yeah, they can produce like 4 times the amount of honey.
Because they probably kick other bees off the flowers.
They kick ass.
No, mine.
Yeah, it's pretty great. So I usually take those bees and put them at the farthest edges of my apiaries, or my apiaries that are out and where nobody visits. That's where I put them. Okay. And they usually do gangbusters.
Yeah. So in setting up new hives, what is your biggest challenge for setting up new hives? Like, is it getting the bees or?
Getting the bees is easy if you do it early enough. Typically you start in January and put in your name to get bees. Because if you don't, they'll be gone. Like if you went right now and say, I'd like some bees, they'll say, great, we might be able to give you some in August. That's how long the lineup is. So typically if you can ask them in January, then you can get them sooner than later.
Okay. Are they mailed? Like, how do you get them?
In the States, they're mailed. In Canada, we usually go get them. I think they can mail them, but there's enough places close by within an hour. You just go and get them.
This box sounds suspicious.
Oh, it's common to mail them.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it's common.
How does the post office feel about that?
Well, they're all enclosed. They can't get out. They're just humming.
They have to breathe.
There's a screen on top.
Okay.
It's a box with a screen on top.
Wow. So those are, you don't even have to write fragile on them.
No, and hopefully they don't kick it around.
Wow. Yeah, that never dawned on me of getting them back and forth. When you go to a place to gather your bees, how is that set up so that it's like, do they take out one of these? And
they're already pre-done, so they kind of live in these cardboard boxes. So there's 4 of these frames. So the box is only as wide as my fingers.
Okay.
And there's 4 frames sitting in it, and it's already done. And they just close it up when you come. So like shut the door, tape it closed. There's a screen on top so they can breathe.
Yeah.
They have honey in there, so they have food, they have pollen, they have a lot of bees, there's a queen, and you just pick up the box, put it under your arm, trot off to the car, put it in the back seat, and off you go.
And when you get here, how do they know what to do, or if you empty the box that they're not just going to take off?
Well, that does sometimes happen. Sometimes they say, we don't like it here, and they're gone. So within a minute, they're swarmed, and you watch $250 fly away. And if they go to a tall tree, you can't get them. If they go to a low shrub, you can get them. But so but I haven't had that happen in a while, but I have, and a couple of my friends have had that happen this year.
Okay. Wow.
So yeah, you put them in slowly, you just put them in gently. Sometimes you would feed them a little sugar water to make sure they're happy, to get them started.
Right.
But that's sort of what we do to make them feel comfortable and that this is a nice place.
Yeah. And you talk to them on the whole trip here.
yeah, we sing them little bee songs, and
So when you say feed them sugar water, where would you put sugar water in a?
There is a special frame. These things are called frames. That is hollow, and you pour sugar water in the top, or you can get a plastic bag and just lay it on top and put some cut marks in it, and the bees come up on top and go to the cut mark and drink it with their tongues. So there's ways that you can feed them. I don't do it much. I just do a little bit to get them started. And it's a really good idea, because I'm not going to get honey from these hives this year, I don't think. We'll see. Depends on how well they're doing, and they're both doing. All 3 of them are doing extremely well. So maybe I will get honey.
Okay. Why do you think you wouldn't?
Because usually from nukes, the first year you don't get honey. It's the second and third year you make honey. But we'll see. It has happened before. I may get, like 50 or 100 pounds, and next year I might get 500 pounds.
Wow.
So, just because, again, this is an idyllic spot.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a microclimate too here, I've noticed in my weeks of coming here. It's always pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So I'm thrilled to be here.
And it's not heavily traveled, and they're not going to be, other than a couple of people wandering over here.
Yeah.
They're pretty well safe and secure. So you don't have the electric fence around this that you do.
Not yet. I hope to not have it, but it depends. If we get a bear, I may have to.
Yeah.
But I'd rather not.
And so that foxes aren't going to be.
Foxes are no problem. Skunks are a problem. They sit in the front and eat the bees like candy. They just grab a bee and eat it and squat down and then jump up. So I might put some boards in front of the hives with nails poking up, and I'll paint them orange so the staff and anybody sees them, just so we see them.
That's what they do to polar bears, but that's a whole other show. Boards with nails sticking out.
Yeah, and not too many flowers.
Wow. This is like, I'm gonna.
You're gonna do it?
Well, I'm just gonna see how warm it is.
Nice. They're all fuzzy. They're happy to see you. And I give tours for free. If anybody wants to contact me at hiveshare.ca, you can get a hold of me and we'll give you a tour for free at the other apiary.
At the big one. And how many do you have there? You've got, what, 60 hives there now?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
120 altogether and growing. But yeah, it's fun. It takes up the majority of my time.
Well, yeah, I would think so. And so if something gets at a hive and knocks it over, are those bees likely to stick around, or do you have to?
Yeah, actually, I had was that when I was giving that tour to some people on the weekend. I found a hive that was knocked over, and I just righted it, and we went into it later in the day. Everything was fine. The bees did stick around.
Okay.
I don't know how long it was on. It was completely on its side, but it happened to be strapped together with a ratchet strap, so everything was intact.
Okay.
If they break it apart, then it's a different story.
Yeah. Wow.
But I do have some empty hives there from some winter loss, so hopefully, if they wanted to, they could go into one of the other hives. If they found it and it was suitable, they could just go into another one.
Okay. So if it's knocked over and the queen stays in, are they more likely to stick around?
That's the key. If the queen stays in,
right.
yeah, that's the thing.
All right.
And the queen can't fly unless they stop feeding it for a few days, and then she gets light enough to fly. So if it was knocked over, they have to stay. They just make do.
I did not realize that. Wow.
She can walk, but she can't fly.
Yeah, and she can't. Can she sting?
Yep, she can sting. It's rare that she does, but she is able to. She will sting another queen when they fight to the death when they're first born.
Yeah, for control.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like our history books.
Exactly.
Only they're queens, not kings. Queens fought as well. So when you were talking about earlier, when we're watching the front here, and we see that the bees are making a very specific pattern in the air.
Oh, yes. When the bees are ready to go out and forage, they do little figure eights in front of the hive to orientate themselves, to know which hive they're at. It's in front of some sumacs, there's a big hedge on the side, blah, blah, blah. They kind of orientate themselves, and then they turn around and go and forage. And when they come back, they remember all that. They have an internal GPS that's down to a couple of inches. They'll come back exactly to this hive.
Wow. Wow. So and you were saying that is foraging for pollen is one of the last things that...
For nectar and pollen, yeah. So they live 6 weeks, it's one of their last jobs, is to do that.
Please stay tuned. We have more. Welcome back, and they've got a huge, you touch them. They know you.
This is the remains of two queen cells that I've broken apart. There was nothing in them, but that's when they are maybe not happy with the queen, they'll put an egg in there and make a new queen. So I wreck them so that they won't do that, and I'll come back in the next day or two and give them a second box. That's one of the signs that they might need a bit more room if they're making one of those. So that's just a sign to the beekeeper.
And a sign to the beekeeper and the queen.
And the queen, yeah. The queen happens to see that. She might know her days are numbered.
Yeah.
But actually, the queen is actually quite renowned for not being too bright.
Oh.
Seriously. The only thing she does is lay eggs. That's all she does.
Yeah.
Well, that's a bit simplified, but...
Yeah.
But she doesn't make any decisions. Any decisions that are made in the hive are made by all the bees as a organism. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So if the bees decided to make large cells, they're just messing with the queen's head.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we can, if you don't, if you're not listening to us.
Exactly.
So what I really, really like is the reflection on the nectar. These are the cells.
Yeah, this is honey, and down where you were pointing is nectar, and they'll fan that with their wings to get the moisture down to 17%, and then they'll put a cap on it, and it's honey, and it lasts forever.
Wow. And honey has no expiry date.
Correct.
Period.
Correct, yeah.
Which I think is awesome. So my parents used to buy 25-pound pails.
Nice.
And I always wondered, how long does it last? And it's like forever.
Forever, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, oh my, is that another indication of them eating bigger?
When they build comb on the bottom of the lid, then it's like, okay, that's another sign that I need to get another box on here.
Okay, was that a queen? That wasn't a queen one?
No.
Okay. Wow. Wow.
So we just do a little jiggle so they have a time to move.
Line up? Okay.
Well, we don't want to squish anything.
No.
So they have time to move. They have a little hole in the front here so they can get in and out at the top. And of course, when I put another box on, this hole will be up here now. So they can get in and out at the top.
Okay, so this part stays on the very top. Okay,
and then
gotcha.
then the lid, and then we put a brick on it to, so in case the wind comes by, it doesn't blow off. And I have, all my bricks are color coded. So it depends on how I put it. I can, from a glance, tell what's happening with every hive. I may not have to go in it because like, oh, it's blue and the blue's on top, blue and blue. Everything's fine, no worries. Whereas
good for you.
That would be a dead hive, black on top, red, like that kind of thing. So make up the rule how it works for you. But I saw it online. I thought that's brilliant. I'm going to try that.
It is. So these are fine, although this is what?
Just an added brick because it's a little higher.
Dead and fine.
No, they're good. They're good.
Ah, very cool. And so in making honey, when you take it, we should do a show on that process.
Well, the bees make it. I just put it in jars.
Okay, but you don't you scrape it. You don't just scrape it out and put it in jars.
We put it in a centrifuge.
Okay, and that sends the wax to the...
No, we cut off the top.
Yep.
Like cutting off the crust of a loaf of bread, and then you can see into the bread, and then we spin it, and the honey comes out and in a drum, and it comes out a spout in the bottom. It goes through a filter, and then that's all I do, and then I put it in jars. In the filter will be a little bit of pollen, a little bit of wax, probably like little bits, and I melt that down, make candles out of it.
Oh, yeah. And other things.
Yeah, lots of hand bombs, propolis. Propolis tinctures is a different thing. The propolis is that's a whole other show almost. We could do that.
There we go. You heard it here first. We'll hold him to it. I just, the fact that it has no expiry date. No, I don't know any other foods that don't.
No, there isn't any. That's it. It's the only food with no expiry date.
I'm not taking mine off yet. I'm still too close.
And the only food that man gets from another animal is honey.
Right.
So we were talking earlier before we started recording that, bees will make as much honey as I give them boxes. So I'll add another box, a deep box here for them to add more babies on. Yeah. But then I'll put the queen excluder on and I'll add more shallow boxes, and they could get up to be this high. We'll see. As I said, maybe not this year, maybe next year.
Yeah. And I just find that so cool is that it's continuous for them. It's like this never-ending story as you keep giving them more room.
If they have the room, they'll pack the honey away for a rainy day or a winter.
Yeah.
The more honey they have, the better chance of survival. Yeah. And I leave them about 150 pounds of honey in the wintertime. Some people leave them about 100. Yeah. And if they don't eat it, then they have it for next year. So it's not a problem. It doesn't go bad.
True. It doesn't go bad.
So I would rather do that than lose a hive because I only put 20 pounds of honey on and they died because of starvation.
Wow.
So you don't want to do that.
No, and this is a perfect place. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Kathy.
Kathy.
Thank you, bees. Thank you for joining us. I love this. Bye for now.
Hey, Kathy, how many bees are in that hive?
More than I can count. I've had about 32,000. Hi, I'm Kathy Bruce, host of Georgina Blooms. Join me this week as I tame bees. Even I think that's